Hey everyone, welcome to Logan's Mosh Pit. Glad to have you here. Do me a favor and please subscribe if you haven't already. Let's launch into a new episode of Rock and Read. Today we'll read chapter 21 and chapter 22 of Iron Man, written by the riffmaster from Black Sabbath, Tony Iommi. Chapter 21 is called Happy Birthday Witches to You. Let's find out what happens next. There were people in whatever country out there who wouldn't even understand our lyrics at that time because they couldn't speak English, but it was because of the vibe of the music that they felt it was satanic. We were actually invited to join satanic sects. Alex Sanders, the head witch of England, the king of the witches, came to the shows trying to get us into his thing. And the first time we played San Francisco, Anton LaVey, founder of the Church of Satan, held a parade for us there. I still have a picture of that. LaVey with a Rolls Royce and a big banner that read, "Welcome, Black Sabbath." I thought, what's all this? That's nice of them to do that. When we turned down an invitation to play Walpurgis at Stonehenge, this sect put a curse on us. We took that very seriously. That's when we started wearing our crosses. First, Ozzy wore this kitchen sink tap around his neck. Soon it would develop into a real cross. At the time, we often talked about our dreams, and many times it turned out we dreamed about the same situations, which was really weird. Maybe it was the Walpurgis thing, but one night we all had this dream about wearing crosses to protect us from evil, and so we did. Ozzy's dad gave us these aluminum crosses that looked like they were made of silver. After the first 4 he made, he started mass production because we started selling them at gigs to make some money. Later, Patrick Meehan gave us the gold crosses. He saw us with these aluminum things on bits of string, so I suppose he thought, I've got to get them something a bit better looking than that. I never go on stage without wearing my cross. When I go on tour, I always have 2 things that I really look after: the cross and my thimbles. The cross is big. In fact, I've hit myself in the face with it a few times. You bend down to get into the car and bang! That really hurts. Geezer lost his gold one at an Aston Villa football match. Bill still has his tucked away somewhere, but he actually still wears his original aluminum one. I lost my original one. I probably did what I usually do. Put it away somewhere and forgot where. I can just see some new owner of one of my old houses suddenly discovering it. What's this cross? Of course, neither of us nor our music was satanic. Geezer and his family were very religious, Irish Catholic. He still is. But at the same time, he was interested in occultism. He read a lot of books by the English occultist, mystic, and author Aleister Crowley. We both had an interest in what happened beyond, and got involved in it quite a lot. So he'd get his ideas from that. This certainly played a major part in that first album. I think Geezer felt that the music was portraying such a heavy thing that the lyrical content had to be about something that went with the music. Everywhere else it was all flower power and everything nice and happy, and people weren't writing about real life, wars and famine, and all the other things nobody wants to face. So we saw that and thought we should be doing it. But being accused of having made an occult, or worse yet, a satanic album, was simply ridiculous. Still, we got a lot of flack, certainly in America, because there, the church is such a big deal. We'd get to the gig and there'd be ministers in their congregations holding up banners. Don't come and see this band. They are Satanists. Then there was a case there of a nurse who died in her apartment, and what did they find? Paranoid on the turntable. So it was our fault. There was an inquest. Paranoid was mentioned, and they found it wasn't to blame, but it was a shock to hear about this case because it wasn't what we were about. We weren't trying to kill people. Besides, if people are depressed and put an album on, they're certainly not going to die because of the music. Then there were the people from the dark side. One night, 3 witches came to the gig. Well, supposed witches. They saw we had proper crosses on, and they cleared off. A bit later, back at the hotel one night, we went up to our floor, and there was a whole crowd of people with black cloaks on and candles sitting in the hallway outside our rooms. We thought, what's going on here? They really take you too seriously. Bloody hell. We climbed over them and got into our rooms as they held onto their candles, murmuring. We phoned each other up and said, what are we going to do? Let's give it half a minute and we'll all go outside. So we did. We all went into the hallway, blew out the candles and sang happy birthday to them. They were disgusted, got up and left. But it could have gone the other way. They could have stabbed us. Later on, around volume 4, we were playing at the Hollywood Bowl. After the sound check, we got back to the dressing room. It was locked up, and there was a big red cross on the door. We finally did get the door open, and we never thought any more of it. We got on stage, and after a while, my amp started crackling. It was one of those days. I got really pissed off, turned around, and I booted my stack. Luke the roadie was behind it, and I pushed it and tried to kick the thing over, and then I just walked off. I was like that in those days. I had no patience. As I stormed off, I didn't even notice there was a guy on the side of the stage with a dagger. He was about to stab me. They eventually wrestled him to the floor and took him away. It turned out that he had cut his hand and put that cross on the dressing room door in blood. He was really out there. They showed the dagger to me, and I couldn't believe it. It was huge. Those were the sort of people you had to deal with a lot, but this one was a bit extreme. Also in America, the head of the Hells Angels came to give us his blessing. He said, "You got any problem at all with anything, call me, and I'll get it sorted out, whatever it is." What can you say to a man like that, making an offer like that? Off? Blam? So we just went, "Great, thanks." Maybe we should have taken him up on his offer with the guy with the bloody dagger. Well, that's the end of chapter 21, so why don't we move on to chapter 22. Chapter 22 is called Ozzy's Shockers. Ozzy just had a weak bladder. One night we went to a club and we had a skin full of booze. Ozzy fell asleep on a couch, and as they were closing, the doorman said, "You'd better get him." I said, "I ain't getting him. If you want him out, you better move him." He said, "I'll move him." He picked him up, put him over his shoulder, and Ozzy pissed himself all down this guy's suit. Ugh, that's so gross. Eventually, we could afford 2 to a room. Geezer and Bill shared one room, and me and Ozzy shared the other. That was better, but I'd be in bed, sound asleep, and Ozzy would wake up at all sorts of funny hours. He'd put the TV on full blast, and then take a shower. I'd jump up wondering what the was happening, turn the TV off, and get back into bed. He'd get out of the shower and turn it back on, full blast again. I'd hear him bumping and banging and fiddling around, and I'd think, I might as well get up myself now. When we did get our very own rooms, I thought, this is great. But nothing changed. I'd be in bed at God knows what time, and there'd be a bang on the door. I'd answer it, and it would be Ozzy going, "You haven't got a light, have you? Do you know what time it is? And you bloody woke me up for a light?" Ozzy in hotels. We were on tour traveling for hours and hours through a lot of desert land. We came to this shop in the middle of nowhere, so we all piled out of the bus to have a look. There was a big sign saying, "Fireworks." Ozzy went in and bought all the fireworks they had. I said, "What are you going to do with them?" "Oh, I'm probably going to let them off later." When he said later, I didn't know he meant as late as he did, and I didn't know where. It turned out to be in the hotel at 4 o'clock in the morning. We were in our rooms, and I heard these whizzing sounds of rockets flying past. I looked through the peephole of my door, and I saw that the hallway was full of smoke. Then it started coming under my door, so I went out. By this time, the bloody sprinklers had come on in the hallway and all the rooms. The guests came out in their pajamas screaming, not knowing what the was going on. It was such a mess. Meanwhile, Ozzy, absolutely out of his skull, was still in the hallway letting his fireworks off. Of course, the police came and took him away. They said to us, "You better come down and bail him out." We said, "You keep him tonight. We'll bail him out tomorrow. We've got to get some bloody rest." It was a newly refurbished hotel, but Ozzy's fireworks had burned the carpets and damaged the walls. They made him pay for it big time, so he learned his lesson there. Or maybe he didn't. And he's still the same now, always mooning everyone. Even when we were inducted into the UK Music Hall of Fame and we played Paranoid, Ozzy mooned the crowd. Well, the crowd, there weren't that many people there, but he didn't think they were enthusiastic enough, so he decided to pull his pants down again. You're playing to people in your business, so what do you expect? They're not going to jump up and down and shout and scream. They just sit there politely. And the Kinks were in the front. You don't expect them to leap up. It didn't piss me off, though. It didn't bother us. We're used to seeing that. I've seen Ozzy's butt more times than I've seen my own. Well, that concludes chapter 22. Let me know what you thought of both chapters in the comments below. That does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you next time. Till then, rock on.